Rece Davis back here on the show. How are you, Rece?
I'm doing great, Rich, and I felt terrible about that.
Please.
I really wanted to see your kids, and I'm sorry we missed each other in Pasadena.
It was let's put it this way, trying to get to you. They saw, I think, a quarter of the crowd trying to go in the other direction. It was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, before we get to tonight, I mean, what a great setting that was in the Rose Bowl, Rece. Huh? Wasn't that great?
It's beautiful, Rich. I think it's the best setting for college football, and I understand why they won't. But there's a big part of me that wishes they would just play the national championship game in Pasadena every year, because the setting is perfect for a huge game, and Georgia and Oklahoma certainly lived up to it last week.
And Georgia, I mean, that kid Fromm, what do you expect from him tonight? I mean, because he plays like as level-headed as Brady for somebody who's 19 years old, was playing high school football last year. He was remarkable last week.
Completely unflappable, and I think that's what really makes him good. The people that you talk to, whether it's his teammates or his coaches, talk about how as soon as he stepped on campus in the spring, that he assumed command and didn't act as if he were just going to back up Jacob Eisen. And when the opportunity arose, he stepped in and just put a stranglehold on the job. He really throws with anticipation. He plays with fearlessness. They haven't asked him to do a lot. They run 68% of the time. Nobody that doesn't run the triple option runs more often than Georgia. But still, I think he's shown that he is completely capable of making big plays in the passing game, if that's what they need tonight. You know, they have a big-time five-star quarterback coming in next year named Justin Fields, who everybody raves about. And after watching Fromm play in the Rose Bowl, my question was, exactly when does this guy think he's going to play? Because, you know, I don't know how in the world you'd blow 11 out of that seat anytime soon, because I was as impressed as you were.
Rece Davis joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show prior to hosting tonight's coverage on ESPN of the national championship game between Georgia and Alabama. We had Fowler on Friday, our buddy Bruce Feldman on the week before, and I told Fowler what Feldman said, and I'm going to say it to you here as well, that it's tough to envision Alabama losing a street fight, that Oklahoma would have given him a totally different game, and certainly in a manner that would normally, you know, historically, conventionally, wisdom-wise, confound Alabama. What do you think about this evening in that regard?
I think you're exactly right. I do think that Georgia is as well equipped to beat them as any team they face that plays that style. But the next team to beat them playing that style, beat them at their own game, may be the first. I guess you could, at least since they've started this dynasty in 2008, perhaps you could argue Ohio State. It's not, you know, pure pro-style stuff, but more like what you'll see from Georgia, certainly with some wrinkles. But, you know, Ohio State certainly ran it at them and controlled the line of scrimmage and beat them in that, you know, bar brawl street fight type of game. Historically, that has favored Alabama. Whether it will tonight, I think it depends largely on the quarterback play and also how well Alabama adjusts to losing Anthony Jennings. He's one of their linebackers. He had another linebacker injury for the Crimson Tide, and he was the best player on the field against Clemson, in my judgment. He was hurt late in that game, won't be able to play, so yet another test of Alabama's depth.
So give me something to look for tonight. I'm sure you've been exposed to so many storylines throughout the season of these two teams separately, and now that they're on the same field tonight, what should viewers of this game be looking for to get an inkling as to what the final result might be, Rece?
How efficient Jalen Hurts is in the passing game. I do not believe that Alabama will be able to beat Georgia with him throwing for just over 100 yards a game. Now, that said, will they use him a lot in the quarterback run game? There has been rumblings for the last month that Alabama would not hesitate to go to their backup quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, who is a highly touted guy and can really throw the football. So I think how efficient is Jalen on first down, how efficient is he in the passing game, and whether they use strictly Hurts or whether they get into a situation where they feel like they have to bring in the freshman to try to make something happen through the air.
And when you talk to your colleagues and people around town there in Atlanta, who are you hearing most is winning tonight? What do you think?
You know, Rich, it's a lot like what you just said. I think everybody's afraid to pick against Alabama because a lot of us did in the Sugar Bowl, and they've proven you wrong so often. But the vibe feels like Georgia to me. Now, maybe that's the excitement of 37 years since the national championship, home state or whatever, but it's almost as if there's an anticipation that Georgia's going to win, but everybody's afraid to say it because of Alabama's great success in these situations over the years.
So, you know, I don't know how many people know this, but I just, you know, when I started doing SportsCenter with you, I did notice that Alabama ring that you used to have on. I don't know if you still wear it. Now
I do not.
Okay, yeah, I bet it's tough to do what you do for a living and have that on now.
Yeah.
But back in the day when we were doing SportsCenter together, when I first started out, you did. So, being class of '88, you would know the answer to this question. Has Nick Saban already earned the mantle of greatest coach in the history of that school? Your thoughts, Rece Davis?
Without question, and in my judgment, he's also the greatest coach in the history of college football, regardless of what happens tonight. Now, if you're just into counting championships and that's how you define it, then I guess he has to win another one or maybe win two more and pass Bear Bryant. And I don't, you know, when you say things like that, it often seems as if you're sliding someone else, and I don't mean it that way. But this dynasty, this consistency has been unprecedented. If they win tonight, it's 5 in 9 years. Nobody's come close to that. But while that is the first line on the resume for Nick Saban, winning all of these championships, to me, the second line is that he fixed LSU. Rich, growing up in the South, for my entire life, LSU was a coaching graveyard. And he went in and fixed it. And it has been sustainable through a couple of other coaches, maybe not at the level he had it, but certainly still largely fixed. A former LSU coach, head coach, after he lost his job at LSU, his next job as a head coach was at my high school. LSU chewed up, spit out, and ate coaches for decades, and he fixed that. And to me, that's just behind this remarkable run of championships. That's a great achievement. He also certainly did a great job at Michigan State. I put him right at the top.
Yeah. I guess the indication is when the only thing you could say about him is like, how come he can't get a consistent kicker? That's basically right.
That's exactly right.
That's the only chink in the armor. That's the only Achilles heel, it seems like, right, Rece?
Just about every big game they've lost. Clemson last year was an exception, but just about every big game they've lost has had something bizarre happen in the kicking game. As I look across the room right now and watch Gus Malzahn enjoying his lunch, that is certainly that was there. The game of the century against LSU, they missed 4 field goals, and even in that kick 6 game, they missed a bunch of field goals prior to the last one. And you're right, that has been a bit of a problem. And Georgia tonight has a better field goal kicker than Alabama.
So who does Malzahn think is winning tonight? Do you know?
I haven't talked to him yet. I think for Gus, honestly, Rich, this is the ultimate lose-lose situation. He beat them both. And it's in both ways, because he beat them both and then because he lost the championship game to Georgia, it's his fault that there's an all-SEC championship game. So Gus is probably rooting for next year to get here. He's rooting for the final gun to sound.
Yeah. Rece, take care, man. I look forward to tonight at 8 Eastern time. When does your coverage begin? When do you start?
We begin at 3 Eastern time. We'll be 3 to 5 and then 6 to 8.
Damn. Well, it might have started. Your call time's probably in 5 minutes. Thanks for the call time here, Rece, as always.
You bet, Rich. Anytime.
You got it. That's Rece Davis.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.